Wanted to take a moment to talk about the Warrior Within sponsor, Diane Call. Diane Call is a singer-songwriter, and you can find her music page on Facebook. So be sure to check out her music page on Facebook, Diane Call Music, www.facebook.com/Diane Call 17. You can also subscribe to her YouTube channel and stay up to date on the latest music video releases, including the one for her first single, Cowboy Church. Diane Call Music. Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Warrior Within. I'm your host, Jaime Bennett. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about a very serious, sensitive topic. Like all my other episodes, viewer discretion is strongly advised. I'm going to be talking about sensitive subject matter surrounding today's topic. And today's topic is homelessness in America, homelessness in the United States, and the issues surrounding it. Maybe people are not aware of everything that surrounds homelessness and all the issues that they face. So I'm going to be discussing the statistics. I'm on a website called worldpopulationreview.com. It's /state rankings /homeless population by state. And what this website does is it gives you the population or, statistics of how many people are homeless in that state. So the state that has the most homeless people is California. And I know when I went to Quincy University, they actually had a program that you could be involved with. What we would do is we would raise funds to take a trip to California. I didn't go on that particular trip because I decided to go on the Project Lazarus trip, which is one of my other episodes. I had discussed, what I did at Project Lazarus and what Project Lazarus is all about. I will put a link in the description so y'all can check that out if you want. But Project Lazarus was, something that I decided to do. It's where you work with HIV residents. And another trip that I could have went on with the university was the trip to I think it was San Francisco or San Diego. It was in California. And what it is you work in a soup kitchen and you feed the homeless for a week. And I really wish that I would have taken that trip as well. I wish I would have had the opportunity to take both trips because both are very, very important. And I'm very passionate about both subjects. And so it would have been a really awesome thing if I could have done both of them. But here is the homelessness population. For California, it's 161,548. That is a lot of homeless people in California. And of course, it's a bigger place, bigger cities, and a lot more competitive in the job market, people fighting for one job. You probably have like 100 people going for the same job or more. So that's probably a big reason why there is so many homeless people in California. It is a real problem. The least homeless location, the least homeless state. Sorry, I'm stuttering. I just got done with a live show, and so here we are on the Warrior Within, and we're going to do this. So the least homeless state is North Dakota, and that has only 541. I say only. That's still a pretty big number. That's a really sad. We don't want anybody to be homeless. I don't want anybody to be out on the streets. And what a lot of people don't realize is some of the homeless people have kids. Some of the homeless people are kids without a family. Some of the homeless people have pets with them. They have dogs with them. So the dogs are homeless as well. And what's really bad is that, in order to get a job, you have to have an address. what are the homeless people going to do if the homeless shelters are full and they can't get into a homeless shelter to give the homeless shelter's address as their address where they live? It's a huge problem. It's really hard for somebody who's down on their luck, homeless, to get a job when they don't have an address. Not to mention, they don't have the ability to get nice clothes. Sometimes they don't have the ability to take a shower on a regular basis. And it would be really hard to get a job when you haven't showered in weeks, when you haven't changed your clothes in weeks. And it's just a really, really sad state of affairs, and something needs to be done about it. We need to band together and help the homeless population. Some of these other places, like Florida, for example, I'm going to use Florida. They have, let's see here, see if they mention Florida. I believe, well, it's not really telling me. The website's not working like it should. But let's go to the homeless statistics, homelessness in Florida, and see what the population is. Homelessness in Florida, 2022, the population. So Florida, total homeless is 27,487. That's still a really, really huge number. Homeless households, 2,171. Veterans, out of those homeless, 2,472 are veterans. 1,450 are young adults. People don't think about it, A lot of our veterans, people who have worked hard and who put their life on the line, people we should appreciate and respect. We should appreciate and respect everyone. But these veterans are out on the streets homeless with no place to go. And a lot of them are handicapped. A lot of them are in wheelchairs. Something needs to be done about this. There's a real problem when there's even one homeless person on the streets. We don't need anybody to be homeless. And it's even worse when it's like during the winter time and it's cold outside. They have to resort to sleeping on storefront steps or trying to get into a church and sleeping there. Luckily, some churches do have homeless shelters. Like, they do have locations for the homeless to get off the streets at night and to have a warm place to sleep. And I'm very appreciative of places that do that, but there needs to be a steady, solid solution, not a band-aid put on this problem. And what I mean by band-aid is not just getting them off the streets for the night or just getting them off the streets for the wintertime. There needs to be a location, maybe the post office can give out. My husband actually came up with this idea earlier, and I think it's very ingenious. And it makes a lot of sense, but what if the post office could give out free postal addresses, free P.O. boxes to homeless people so that they can have a place to get their mail, so that they can have a place to say, this is my address, and maybe get a job, have better chances of getting a job. I know that the Salvation Army gives clothing allowance to people who are down on their luck. So there's at least that, they're able to get clothing, but we need a good, solid solution, a permanent solution, and not just a band-aid to the problem. So homelessness in Florida is 27,487. Let's look for the state of Georgia, because, that's where I live and that's where I'm from. So let's see, state of Georgia. Wow. Okay, so it doesn't give Georgia, but it does give New York. So that's another one. 91,271. That's an insane number. And you have to wonder in your head how many of those people are children. There are babies left out on the streets. There are 5-year-olds left out on the streets. There are pregnant moms left out on the streets. And a lot of times they only thing that they can do is live in a tent, like in the woods. There's places called tent cities, and that's not a safe environment for a child. And that's, it's completely awful and horrible, and it breaks my heart. Absolutely breaks my heart to see things like that, to hear news stories like that. And a lot of times people are getting killed in these tent cities. People are getting killed on the streets. Homeless people are getting killed on the streets because they don't have any walls to protect them. They'll be asleep and they might get stabbed to death while they're sleeping because they have no protection. They have no place to go. They have no place to feel safe. And that needs to change. That needs to change today. It needed to change yesterday. One of the subjects that goes along with homelessness, and a lot of people probably don't think about, and this is where I say viewer discretion is advised, is something called the period project. A lot of people don't think about females being homeless and having to deal with periods. Like we already, the female population, it's been made in society to feel ashamed of having our monthly periods. We've been made to feel embarrassed even talking about it. And I'm teaching my daughter that it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just part of the human body. It's a natural occurrence. It happens. We don't need to feel ashamed for something that our bodies do naturally. And if me having a roof over my head, having money to go and buy, sanitary products for when I'm having my monthly, and I feel embarrassed about it. Can you imagine how a woman feels that's on the streets, that's homeless, that doesn't have money? Can you imagine how they feel about not being able to get to a shower, not being able to get sanitary napkins for when they are experiencing their period every month? It's a huge problem, and I'm very thankful that they have come up with the Period Project. And let me tell you what that's about, because it does go along with homelessness, and people need to be aware of everything, and they need to be aware of all of the issues surrounding this topic. Their purpose, and you can find all the information that I'm about to read you on periodproject.org. So their purpose is to eradicate period poverty. And like I said, a lot of times these women that are out on the streets, they're already ashamed that they don't have a job. They're already ashamed that they don't have a home to call their own, that they don't have a roof over their head. They're already feeling ashamed. They don't need to be further ashamed because they can't afford something that we should have access to, that should just not be a problem. We should have access to these resources. So the purpose of the Period Project is, it's an amazing project, and I am so grateful that they have this project, and I'm so grateful that they've taken the initiative, because one step at a time. Their purpose is to eradicate period poverty, reinforce the dignity of those impacted by inequality. So, yeah, it's a very, very important thing. Their mission is equal, affordable access to menstrual hygiene products for all, to facilitate better access to menstrual hygiene products to individuals in need, to advocate for equal and tax-free access to these essential products, and to raise awareness of the period poverty by leveraging voices around the country. So let me tell you something. I love living in the state of Georgia. And the reason why I say that is because my library is an amazing library, and they're doing stuff with the Period Project. They put free sanitation napkins in the restrooms of the library for the homeless people that come in there. And think that that is a wonderful thing for them to do. And it helps to give the female, the woman, back some of her dignity. She's already not feeling very dignified by being homeless, by not having access to running water and to be able to take a shower. By having sanitation napkins in the restroom, they're giving some of that female's dignity back. The library is a perfect resource for homeless people because they can get off the streets for a little while. They can get their mind off of being homeless. They can go in the library, they can sit and relax, have access to the internet to be able to find resources to help them get a job, to help them find a homeless shelter, to help them maybe get food stamps or something to help them get by in life just a little bit better. We need to do better as United States. We need to do better as American citizens. We need to help these people out. We need to help out the homeless. We need to do our part to help eradicate people living on the streets, especially young people. They didn't choose that life. It happened. So it needs to be eradicated. We need to help. The Period Project is a huge deal. And like I said, I'm very thankful that they have started that project. There are other foundations that help homeless people. There's one called United Hands, and it's relief and development. And you can find that uhrelief.org. Um, Let me tell you a little bit about them. Hunger and homelessness often go hand in hand. Homeless people deserve healthy food too. So, in addition to providing ongoing humanitarian aid and catastrophic disaster relief, United Hands developed the Feeding the Homeless program, designed to meet the targeted needs of the homeless community in the Dallas and Fort Worth area. There are many programs. This is not the only program that's out there, but there are many, many programs that are just like Feeding the Homeless. There's one called Feed America, United Way. That's another good resource for people. Salvation Army is another good resource. Goodwill is another good resource. But like I said, what a lot of people do not think about is, jobs expect you to have, like, whenever you go to apply for a job, and I know that this has happened to me on numerous occasions, you're asked to give 3 references. You're asked to give your phone number. You're asked to give an address, like where you live, to possible employers. That's really difficult for somebody who's homeless. They don't have an address. They don't have a phone number. And a lot of times they don't have access to those types of resources. Another problem is, like I said, a lot of these homeless people have pets. Pets are left out on the streets with people who are homeless. They don't have access to veterinarian care. A lot of times these pets will get tumors, they'll get abscessed teeth, they will get, malnourished because they don't have access to dog food or cat food or nutrients. And a lot of times, homeless people are malnourished because they don't have access to food. They don't have access to money. They don't have the ability to get a job because getting a job requires them to have an address. Something needs to be done about this. There needs to be a solution, a solid, concrete solution, not just a band-aid. Like, I appreciate that there are homeless shelters, but a lot of times when somebody's down on their luck, a lot of times the programs that they have are for women who are being abused, single mothers. A lot of times it's not for families, it's not for a man who's down on their luck. Something needs to be done about it. This is a real issue. And like I said, it has become more of an issue during the pandemic because a lot of people who had jobs lost their jobs because the factories closed down, the restaurant closed down. It's a problem, and it's becoming more and more of a problem each passing day. Don't judge someone just because they're down on their luck. I think that it should be that, like my husband said, and it's a really good idea, they should give away free postal boxes, free P.O. boxes, so that people who are homeless can give that as their address and possibly have a better chance of getting a job. Something needs to happen. I think that there are a lot of really good programs out there to help combat this, but like I said, don't need to put a band-aid on it. It needs to have a concrete, solid solution. I've always told my husband, if I ever become rich or famous, or rich at least, I want to help homeless people around here because I'm not going to tell you where exactly I live in Georgia, but homelessness is a huge problem where I live. There is a tent city. There are homeless people that come into the library. Thank God they have that resource. Thank God they have the library to go into because they have running water. They have the ability to look up jobs. They have the ability to look up resources. And thank goodness they have that. But there's still a lot of homeless people where I live. And if I ever became rich, I definitely would help them. I would try to set up a small house village. But even with that, even if I were to become rich, even if I were to do something like that, that's just a band-aid. That's just the tip of the iceberg. It's just a scrape of, solving a little bit of the problem. There needs to be a good, solid solution to help the homeless in the United States, to help the homeless everywhere. We need to band together as a society and help. And like I said earlier, the homeless they don't only have to worry about a place to sleep. They don't have a safe place to sleep a lot of times because a lot of times the homeless shelters are filled up. So many of the problems that people experiencing homelessness face can make their health worse. And these problems include limited access to health care, problems getting enough food, trouble staying safe. Like I said, they don't have walls to help protect them. Violence, stress, unsanitary living conditions, and exposure to severe weather. I know where I live in Georgia, a lot of the time, I have seen homeless people sleeping under the bridges up on the banks. And where I live, there's a lot of flooding. So that's a danger that they face. A lot of times, homeless people, if they can't get to a food shelter, if they can't get to a food pantry, if they can't get to a soup kitchen, a lot of times they're digging in the trash and eating people's leftover sandwiches or leftover hamburger, and no telling how long that has sat out in the elements, how long it has sat out unrefrigerated. There is a lot of issues that homeless people face, and homeless people are not just adults. They are veterans, they are children, they are animals, they are women. Like, there is so much that they have to deal with. It's a very, very scary situation. And I'm very thankful that every single day I wake up in a bed. I wake up with a roof over my head. I wake up with food in my stomach. Well, maybe not yet because I haven't had breakfast, but I have access to food. I have access to running water. And that's the thing that a lot of people take for granted. I'm about to cry because I'm very passionate about this. Just think about it. You wouldn't want your children out on the street. You work very hard to keep them healthy. You work very hard to keep a roof over their head. You work very hard to keep food in their stomachs. Even with your pets, like if you don't have children, even with your pets, you work very hard to make sure that they get veterinarian care. You work very hard to make sure that they have food in their stomachs. Quality of life. Quality of life. Don't take your life for granted. Don't take, that having the access to water, running water for granted, because a lot of people don't have that. And they would give anything in the world to have that. We need to help people. We need to help people who are down on their luck. We need to help give them a leg to stand on. We need to help give them a good, solid foundation, a place for them to feel safe, a place for them to have the ability to get a job, to have the ability to get a shower, to get a warm meal in their stomach. We need to be better. We need to be so much better. I have visited different cities. I've been to Atlanta, I've been to St. Louis, I have been to Chicago, and I have seen many tent cities, and I have seen many, many homeless people. And a lot of times what people don't realize is, homeless people are people too. They deserve to be respected. They don't deserve to be judged harshly. They don't deserve to be scoffed at. They don't deserve to be treated like trash. They're human beings too. And they ended up in that situation, no telling why. Maybe it was just a wrong turn. Maybe they fell down on their luck. That could happen to any of us. Any of us could lose our job. Any of us could lose the ability to work. Any of us could lose the ability to walk or see. We need to be thankful for what we have in life, and we need to do better as a society. We need to help these people. We need to help get people off the streets and into homes. So, there are a lot of locations, a lot of places that do help with this, and United Way is one of them. There's Goodwill, they're another one. There is Salvation Army, they help out. There are a lot of good places that will help. So, like I said, the library is a very good resource for that. The library gives the homeless people a chance to have access to running water, to have access to the internet, to be able to find resources to help them. Not every place has a homeless shelter. I used to live in Southern Illinois and they didn't have a homeless shelter in the town that I lived in. They just didn't have access to anything like that. So, resources for homeless people. I'm going to tell you some of them. There is the United Way, and you could even help out. Like, you can donate to homeless shelters, or you can find where you can donate these products to. Like, people don't think about it, but the resources that homeless people need the most is like socks, because when they're living on the street, a lot of times they don't have shelter and they rarely take their shoes off, so they need to have the ability to change their socks. Personal hygiene items, which is why I said that the Period Project is very, very important, and I'm very thankful for the Period Project. That's an amazing thing. Food, pet food, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of times people don't think about that. They don't think that, pets are involved with being homeless. Gift cards, transportation passes, rain gear, and compassion. If you can't give anything else, compassion. Have compassion, people. Be kind. Don't judge someone because they're homeless. Don't be like, oh, they probably ended up that way because they're a druggie. Or they ended up that way because they gambled their money away. Don't be that way. Don't be that person. Show some compassion, people. Care about people. I know that there's this homeless person that I knew in Southern Illinois, and thank goodness somebody had mercy on him. Thank goodness there was a kind Samaritan, loaned him one of the trailers that he would rent out, loaned him a trailer to sleep in. So at least this person had running water, had a roof over their head. This awesome Samaritan provided this homeless person with a trailer with running water, electricity, rent-free. If you have the ability to help, even if it's not much, just having compassion, seeing these homeless people as what they are, human beings, goes a long way. Giving them a hug, shaking their hand, asking how they're doing, asking, hey, is there anything that I can help you with? Even if it's not much, it's the world to them. It may make a huge difference to them. It may be a step in the right direction of them being able to get to a safe location. A lot of times there are youth on the streets because maybe they ran away from an abusive environment. Maybe their parents abused them. Maybe they were in an abusive foster family. Maybe they're in an abusive situation. You need to think about those things. Like, there's a lot to think about with homelessness all over. There's a lot to think about with homelessness in the United States, and people don't think about youth being homeless. If you see a young teenager out on the streets who's homeless, a lot of times people's first thought is, oh, they're part of a gang, or oh, they ran away from home because they didn't like mommy and daddy's rules, or oh, they're on drugs. That's not always the case. We don't need to be judgmental. We don't need to judge someone at first glance. We don't need to make it harder for these people by scoffing at them. We do not need to make their lives harder than it already is. They're already facing a lot of issues. They're facing health issues because they don't have access to medical care. If they get a sore tooth or they get a cavity, it can turn disastrous because it can end up as an abscess. It can end up being infected and they could actually die from a tooth infection. We take things for granted. You know, it's not so easy as them calling up the dentist, making an appointment, and saying, "Hey, I think I have a cavity. My tooth hurts. It needs filled." They can't do that. They don't have access to that. I think that it would be a wonderful thing if, we made it possible for them to have access to free dental care, free medical care, access to the things in life that we take for granted. And there are some places that do free dental care, but they do it like very far and few between. And it's a lot of times, anytime that I have seen free dental care, because I've been down on my luck, I've been in a position where I needed dental care and couldn't afford to go to the dentist. And I've been looking up, like free dental care before. And a lot of times they only have it on certain days, and they'll have it at a location that's like an hour away from where you live. So, people really need to think about these things. We don't need to take dental care, medical care, any of that for granted. We don't need to take running water for granted. I'm so appreciative of everything I have in life. I know what it's like to be down on your luck, and I know what it's like to have people look at you poorly, to judge you harshly. And I still get that in my life. I don't always wear makeup. I'm not wearing makeup right now. This is the real me. This is what I look like. What you see is what you get. And I'm okay with that. But I have had people to judge me poorly before because of how my hair is or because I have tattoos. People who are on the streets, homeless people, they get judged very harshly, and sometimes they're not given a fair shake. And like I said, a lot of times they're veterans. They're people who put their life on the line to protect you and me, to protect this country. They put their life on the line to protect us. And a lot of times they have missing legs, missing arms. They're in wheelchairs, they're handicapped. So not only do they have to struggle with that, they have to struggle with being homeless on top of that. They have to struggle with not being given a fair shake. Just because you're in the military does not mean that you're guaranteed to be taken care of, that you're guaranteed a free pass, you're guaranteed a place to live, you're guaranteed respect. We just need to be better as a country. We need to be better as a society, and we need to help however much we can. We need to do our part. We need to do our part to be the best form of ourselves that we can be. And if all you can give is compassion, hey, that's going to be a huge deal to someone. That's going to make all the difference in the world to them. Maybe they just needed a little bit of compassion. Maybe they needed somebody to hear them. Maybe they needed somebody to see them. Maybe they needed somebody to say, "Hey, I care about you. Don't know you, but I care about you." Sometimes that's all it takes. If you can spare $5, they can go to like McDonald's and get something to eat. I know that meal prices and the prices of things have went up, but they have a chance of getting something to eat. So do whatever you can to help homeless people out. Do whatever you can to help anybody out. Anybody who's down on their luck. If you can do something, do it. Help them. It may be as simple as compassion. It may be as simple as, hey, here's $5. If you have a few dollars to spare, donate. Donate to homeless shelters. Donate to food pantries. Food pantries are always looking for people to donate. Donate to Goodwill. Donate clothing. If you have a jacket or a winter coat in your closet that you haven't worn in a while and that you're not going to wear, instead of throwing it away, donate it. That's another thing that homeless people really need is like winter coats during the winter time. Nice, warm winter coats. Something to help them get through it, to help them survive the elements. So the next time that you see somebody who is different from you, the next time that you see somebody who may be down on their luck, please have compassion. Please do what you can to help their lives to be a little bit better. They need to have quality of life. They need to be respected, and they need a hand. I hope that you all have enjoyed this episode, and as always, I hope that it was educational and informational. Please stay tuned after this episode for a special message. This week's highlighted cause is Feeding America. Give.feedingamerica.org. Every dollar you give can provide at least 10 meals to children and families in need through the Feeding America network of food banks. Please help end hunger today. Give.feedingamerica.org.